Thanks for listening to Uncle Sam's Soccer Podcast, keeping you up to date with the latest in American soccer. And don't forget to subscribe.
Welcome to Uncle Sam's American Soccer Podcast. If you haven't already, make sure you go back and listen to our first segment that we released yesterday. We spoke about the Augustine Rossi domestic violence allegations. Now, on today's episode, me, Steven, and Jake talk with Josh Babetiski as Austin FC was announced this week as MLS's 27th team. Now, let's get to the show. All right, joining us now on the show is Josh Babetiski. He's been a guest on the show a couple of times. Josh, how are you doing over there in Austin?
Doing well, guys. Thanks for having me back on the program. I think this is my third cap.
Yeah, I think so, right? Yeah, third, right?
Is this the guest we've had on most often now? We got to start tracking how many repeats we have.
Yeah, we have to X out Josh. We got to find another Austin person to throw on the list.
I can give you plenty. I was just going to say how honored I was, but now I'm taking that back.
It's one way to look at it. Don't feel too honored just yet. But Josh, MLS 27th team introduced to MLS. You were there at the announcement party or event. How was it?
Oh, it's fantastic. I mean, it's just, for me, it was 5 years of, hard work and effort, like culminating in like, oh, now it's real. And it's like, for real. Because, we've been in months of like, well, we know it's going to happen, but it was always in this like quasi official state. But to actually have the commissioner of MLS up there on stage and, say the words, the 27th team, really was such a great feeling, and it was such a great night and such a great event.
Yeah, Josh. It's almost like you said, the 5-year thing. It's like you finally crossed the finish line of the vision of bringing MLS to Austin. I guess one thing I want to know is, what was it like sharing that big old bear hug with Anthony Precourt and giving high fives to Don Garber? I saw that he was
and Mayor Adler. Don't forget Mayor Adler.
Yeah, our mayor is great. Yeah, Steve. Our mayor is great. We're fortunate to have a very excellent mayor, and he's very approachable, very he's great for remembering people. Like, you can be like one city hall fish. I mean, he just kind of remembers people. Like, he's got that ability. So it's great to have them all come rolling down. And, I think for Anthony Precourt, it was a big relief too. And he talked about that like in his comments of, kind of the dude's had an interesting, past year plus with all the drama, going on around, bringing Austin FC into the world. I think it was good to just see a friendly face on the rope line. I think, but it caught me off guard. But I'm happy for him. I'm happy for us. I'm happy for Austin. It's a great, exciting day. We hug here. We're friendly people in Austin. We're huggers. So.
Well, I would say that about Texas in general. Friendly state, right?
Yeah.
No, but
absolutely.
Josh, maybe you could clarify this. What's the connection with Lawless and Austin FC? Obviously, during the playoffs, he had the sticker on his computer, and maybe Jake and Armand, you guys could touch on this. Alexi Lawless talked, and I find it fascinating how he's rising up the ladder there in Austin as far as an important soccer figure.
I think he is, mostly because I think he was, one of the few, you guys fall into that group too, that was really willing to kind of tell the Austin side of the story. While I get all the anger and animosity around, the clarifying the situation at the front office level, the soccer, the city itself and the supporters here, I think really weren't getting kind of that fair shake, that fair coverage. And I'm actually the one who gave Alexi that sticker at South by Southwest. And I talked to him a little bit about it after the announcement and the event. And basically what I had said to him is, I thank you for coming and thank you for doing what you did, putting it on your sticker. I'm sure it was, just you being a rabble rouser. I said, but it meant a lot to us as supporters here that there was somebody in the mainstream, media that was really calling to attention. There are fans here. There is support here. There are people that want soccer to happen here. And, the fact that, he took that on and helped kind of give us equal time in his own way was huge and a great opportunity. So we gave him a new sticker though too, because we're like, okay, we're off that brand now. So if you can replace that, that would be great. So
I guess Josh, I want to ask you this. My big take on the show, and Steven and Armand can attest to this, is
here we go. Stoking the fire.
I really hate MLS rivalries because I think they're just really kind of BS and just this forced thing that the league pushes on people, like, oh, New York is red, New York is blue, that whole stupid thing. I think it's incredibly fake, and I think there there's probably like one or two genuine rivalries in MLS. However, I think now we do have a real rivalry in MLS, and I'm actually excited about it. With you and Columbus and Austin, how excited are you to kind of have that rivalry, that natural hatred, I guess? At least I know on one side of the aisle there's that hatred, judging by the Twitter litmus test. I'm not sure if that's always a good gauge to use, but how excited are you to have like this natural born rivalry where you have these sides that don't like each other, and it should bring out passionate football once Austin FC launches in 2021?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I've heard a couple of the pundits kind of make that comparison, and I'm sure, the media is going to try and make it a thing. But by and large, we're already kind of put Columbus in a rearview mirror. Like, we're just like, we're looking more forward to going to Nashville and, our interstate rivalry, that I'm sure will, happen with the Houston fans. I think by 2021, I don't know how many people outside the diehards are still even going to be thinking about it or even going to care. They will be an Eastern Conference team. We'll be a Western. So we'll only play each other once a year, and it'll alternate probably between here and there if they kind of keep to the same format they do now between Eastern and Western. So I'm not sure. Like, I guarantee, I'm sure the league and I'm sure, the press is going to try and make a ton of hoopla, especially around the first lineup. But, by and large, we're very quickly just putting Columbus in a rearview mirror, because the only reason they were ever a factor is if they were moving, and now that's not happening. So they go back to being one of those also ran teams.
Josh, but, I lived in Dallas. I get it. Dallas fans are soft. Houston fans are soft. I mean, does Austin really have a rivalry between those two? Or with those two?
But interstate, it's certainly an opportunity where you're going to see a lot more, away visiting fans. Right. I mean, people forget how big Texas is. I mean, even, for Houston or Dallas, it's still a 3+ hour drive to get here, even if you're caravanning on a bus. So, I think that just will create some natural, where there's going to be more people from Houston in town and more people from Austin will go to, Dallas and Houston, and probably Kansas City as well. Kansas City is a good traveling team. I just think it'll create more of those things. It remains to be seen. It'll be interesting. Maybe a big rivalry does stick, but I think it's going to be really hard to explain to an average soccer fan why Austin, Texas playing Columbus, Ohio is a big deal. I'm being honest. Yeah. Outside of the Twitter soccer bubble, most fans that we have yet to do that are going to be recruited or casuals or not, don't spend all their time on Reddit, are really going to be like, why do we care that we're playing Columbus this week? I don't get it.
Yeah, that's why I kind of paraphrase. I don't know. I'm not sure if Twitter was a good litmus test to determine if there's real hatred on both sides of the aisle there. I don't know. I guess I just kind of looked at it and thought this might be an actual legit rivalry where you just have maybe, people on both sides there's a little bit of disdain for one another just because of how the last year went with, Save the Crew and you guys, that whole thing. So I guess just looking and go natural connection. Maybe this is this might actually be a fun rivalry where, the one time they play it might feel like it's a big game and a big deal to the fans instead of
maybe the first the first.
I agree with that. Yeah, I think the first one will be just notable because, it'll be bubbled up and people will be trying to explain it. But yeah, I don't think soccer Twitter is a really good litmus test for any kind of mainstream. Although judging by current soccer Twitter, Columbus is still having a really hard time letting it go. But, I think Austin's mostly just we got a team, we're partying. Oh, look, there's still these guys trying to get into our threads. But otherwise, I think we by and large stopped caring.
Steven, let me ask you this.
Yeah.
Because the more I've been reading, the more I feel like the people who are against Austin haven't really been to Austin in terms of Austin as a MLS market. I've been reading like some things, and it's like, have you actually, because Steven, the more I've been thinking about it, I mean, the more I've visited Austin. I mean, I was in Austin, I forgot when, a couple months ago, and I think it's like almost a natural fit for MLS to be there. I don't know about you, Steven. Like, do you think so? I think just everything around it's the emerging city.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people are starting to move there as well for their jobs, which you kind of create like an Atlanta effect with some transplants who need something to get behind. What do those Atlanta transplants get behind? They got behind Atlanta United. I'm confused why everyone's really skeptical that Austin can't be the same way.
Well, Josh, I think you can answer here in a moment about the specifics, but I think just in general, Austin fits the profile, and MLS has been linked with the city of Austin for a while. This is not something that has come up just in the last 2 years pre-court saying, oh, let's just move to Austin. No, there's a specific reason why he saw Austin as a fit. Now, Josh, I mean, you can get into the specifics in what it means, and I also want to correct something I think some of the media says is like, Austin is the first professional franchise. No, Austin have the Bold now there and established before MLS Austin, so there'll be two soccer teams competing for the heart of Austin. I think that's going to be an interesting development as we proceed, and the Bold starting before the MLS team. How's that going to kind of divide the city?
I mean, Steven, I don't know if you've heard, but the Bold were trying to not like trying to disrupt Austin FC from being a thing. So again, Josh can speak for us better, but I know some Austin FC fans are pissed at the Bold for trying to undermine everything that's going on there. So I mean, that might affect their support as well. So yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot to unpack there, guys.
Yeah.
So I think there were a couple of the Stars and Stripes had an article, and a couple others were like, embrace the villain role of Austin. And anybody who's been to Austin is not a city anybody loves to hate. Like, that's just not going to happen. And I even tweeted something to the effect, I mean, good luck trying to create this and it's funny for how many guys in soccer media hate manufactured rivalries and things like that. The fact they're trying to create manufactured villainy out of a city people love to come to. I mean, I get that people hate certain cities. Like, people hate going to Chicago or people hate going to Paris. But Austin is just not one of those cities outside of people who live in San Antonio where people just go, oh, I hate going to Austin, or I had a bad time in Austin, or I never want to go to Austin. It just doesn't happen. Every fan we talk to in other cities over the past, few years are like, oh God, I hope you guys really get in the league because I really want to come there for an away game. Like, it creates yet another excuse, like ACL Fest or South by Southwest, for a lot of people to come into Austin. So, it's interesting that they're trying to make it stick. I don't think it's going to, because Austin is just not one of those cities in your mind's eye where people love to hate it. And we're welcoming here. Part of our supporter culture is outside of the 90 minutes of the match, we want to make sure you've got great places to stay. We want to make sure you hit the right barbecue joints. We will go out and have beers with, visiting supporters. I think it's going to be really hard to create this Dudley Do-Right, versus, some dastardly villain mustache twirling thing, although we do have a lot of those twirling mustaches here. We have hipsters, and get that to stick. So it'll be interesting to see, especially in 2 years when a lot of this is kind of subsided of whether any of that's still going to click. On the Bold thing, first professional, with an asterisk, is USL really pro? I don't know. But there's a lot of, in the soccer culture or the soccer fan base here, a lot of apathy or outright anger with what that organization's trying to do. First of all, they've had zero supporter outreach. They've done no marketing or engagement. they bankrolled all these petition drives trying to stop the MLS stadium. So that's further angered them. Plus, you have an owner who essentially sat on a dead franchise for 3 years and kept it on ice. He could have, Bobby Epstein could have had a team on the field, in 2016, 17, and 18 out at Coda, but did not do that. So, like, all of a sudden for him, knowing that the MLS thing was finally going to light up, all of a sudden say, okay, well, I'm going to put the franchise back on the field. Well, the only reason he did that because he was about to lose the rights to that franchise. And it's a lot more expensive to acquire a franchise from USL now than the one they have, because theirs goes back to the Aztecs days. So it was essentially use it or lose it. So he had to put the team up, not knowing whether or not MLS was going to happen. And now is actively trying to fund it, preventing it, which is a lost cause. I mean, it's done. It's a done deal. I mean, Don Garber does not show up unless all the I's are dotted and T's are crossed. So now all effectively he's done is just angered the diehards, the influencers who might have, encouraged. We would have all gone out. We've got 2 years. There's been nothing better to go out and, support another local team, but they've done very little to earn any of that respect or any of that attendance. As a matter of fact, we've had a running gag. We've gotten to know the guys out at El Paso's a new franchise, and some of their supporters know some of our supporters. We might go out to a bowl game and just sit in the other supporters section and do our cheers there. We don't know. We'll see how it plays out, but I think it's really unfortunate that somebody who has the means to have helped grow the soccer community is using those powers to try and prevent soccer from growing. And ultimately, it's not even about soccer. They have a concert venue out at Circuit of the Americas that is going to be, basically supplanted by a 20,000 seat venue that's here in town with box seats. If you're a big act and you're coming to Austin, do you want to play in a 20,000 seat venue that's in Austin near all our arts and shops, things like that has the expensive box seats you can sell? Or do you want to go out to Elroy, Texas, which is out past the airport, about a half hour outside of town, where you're going to have to sell $14 lawn seats because that's about, half of the ticketing availability. And, I get why as a business, they're not crazy about a stadium in town, but, as a guy who's claiming to love soccer, he's really not doing a whole lot to endear himself to the soccer populace of Austin, Texas.
Now, let me ask everybody this, and Jake, I actually want to throw this up to you because Precourt, Austin FC chairman and CEO, told the American Statesman, we need to do this right. You have one chance at a first impression. You've got to build a business the right way. For us to launch into our new state-of-the-art world-class soccer facility and have the training facility open as well for our players and coaches is really the smart way to do it. I based on these comments, I get the feeling that Precourt's going to spend the money and he's going to assemble a squad to try to compete right off the bat. And basically saying is, look, I think this is kind of a sly at, say, at Minnesota United FC, trying to do this, doing the soft launch where it wasn't really something to make big splashes. I think he sees Atlanta as a model to go forward. Like, look, they really took over the city and it seems to now really have built a fantastic foundation to move forward. Now, Jake, how's that make you feel as somebody who saw a soft launch and you hear an owner who's been criticized by the Crew fans but now seems to really engage Austin in a different fashion?
Okay, I'm going to give you two answers to your question. First being, you mean to tell me that a soft launch into trying to sign a goalkeeper accused of domestic violence is not a good way to go about business? Yeah, no, you're right. I mean, like, I genuinely believe, like, you can't tell me and look at the landscape of MLS and go, yeah, the soft launch, that's a great way to go into it. Let's just wait for the stadium to open, and then we'll just kind of ride out that honeymoon period, and then we'll spend money, and hopefully that people will just stick around for it after we've been bad, for 2 years or 3 years or whatever it may be. I think he will spend the money. Maybe not like, I don't want to say, they're going to be like Atlanta where, they're bringing in young up and coming players from Argentina and, Colombia or, we're at Paraguay, wherever. But I do think that, that yeah, I think as an expansion franchise or whatever Austin is at this point, I let you think Columbus is the expansion franchise, I guess. But as as a new franchise, you should go out and spend and get people excited to see what your new product is. I get why. I mean, let's just call a spade a spade. Anthony Precourt, and you can say whatever you want. It's pretty clear and obvious. He didn't want to be in Columbus. Okay, I don't think you can be biased or you can be subjective in that matter. Everyone knows he didn't want to be in Columbus. He wanted to be in Austin. So I think now that he's in Austin, he's going to put his best foot forward and make sure that there is a great product for people like Josh to go see week in and week out.
Yeah, because he wants to hug me every week. So,
that's right. He loves you. He loves you.
He loves one bit of Austin.
I think there are many things to complain about MLS being a single entity structure, but I think one of the things you can't is they do have the advantage of this tribal knowledge where they are learning from previous rollouts and trying to apply that to when they go to the next markets. So if you look at LAFC, which had like a 3.5-year lead time, and then Atlanta, which had like a 2.5-year lead time, I mean, they see what things are hitting and what things are missing. And they see kind of having this ramp up time as being highly advantageous to making sure that they deploy in the market the right way. I mean, I know these guys were all ready to field a team down here in 2019 if they were moving a squad. That was always kind of like it's not ideal, but if they can't continue to play in Ohio, then we're going to bring them down here and we're going to figure it out and make it work. So I think everybody I've talked to, nobody's mad that we're waiting 2 more years. Like, some people think like, well, no, we kept their team and now you guys got to wait. And I'm like, that's not a bad thing. We want to ensure we get this right. We're looking at the long-term view here. We don't want a half-ass rollout. We don't want a rushed thing. We don't want to go out to the Dell Diamond, which is way up in Round Rock, trying to build a huge fan base when, a lot of the fans, it's a haul to get up there. From where I'm at, it's like a good 40, 45 minutes, and it's way out where you don't want a stadium. I mean, it does well for baseball and the baseball fans out there, but it's another baseball field. We see how well that works with New York City FC trying to put a pitch across a baseball diamond. So nobody here is complaining about that 2-year wait. I think that 2 years gives them a lot of time to make sure they're doing the right connections within the community, that they're building up the right the right staff. But I mean, they're also not sitting around either. Like, they're already deploying the academy. They're already, we've already got a front office of close to 20 of the 100 people that they're going to need. They've been engaging UT. So nobody's sitting around, but it's 25 months sounds like a long time until you realize all the things you actually have to get done.
Isn't that like the standard now? I guess in MLS was, outside FC Cincinnati, but I think even FC Cincinnati was kind of just like, all right, we're ready to go now. We'll go now. I guess it doesn't really matter. But you have Nashville, Miami. I think those 2 teams, they were announced 2 years ago, like a year ago. They've had plenty of time to, cultivate a culture and then build something. We're seeing Miami build its actual technical or front office staff. For players such as Kurt Schmidt, I think from the Galaxy. I think the Orlando City GM is now being hired as some player personnel guy over there. I think giving these expansion teams more time is only going to help MLS. I think we're seeing it with LAFC. They had plenty of time to get going, and they did everything right except lose to RSL in the playoffs. And I mean, it'd be interesting to see Cincinnati, because Cincinnati kind of had a really short transition period from, all right, you're a USL. I mean, hopefully they prepared for it and said, all right, we're going to be an MLS team soon, blah, blah, blah. Let's prepare for it infrastructure-wise. We'll be good. But they kind of have a short turnaround if you think about it. They were announced like an MLS team, I don't know,
they did the Minnesota. Yeah, they did the Minnesota United thing where they were announced in the summer, then 6 months later they're already fielding the team. They're already in the league.
Exactly. So it's a lot tougher for these teams, and I wonder for some of these squads if being like a team like Atlanta compared to a team like FCC or Minnesota, it's more of an advantage for I mean, I guess it obviously is more of an advantage for these teams to, have that extra lag time to make sure everything is right. And for Austin FC to actually be in their stadium, I think it's going to be huge. I think that's going to be one of the biggest things. That's huge. I mean, I think that has to be one of the only MLS teams to do that, right? Because Atlanta started in Georgia Tech's field. I can't remember the name.
Bobby Dodd.
They started in Bobby Dodd. Minnesota obviously started TCF. FCC is going to be starting at Nippert. Inter Miami apparently
LAFC is the only one that opened up with
LAFC.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, LAFC. And we saw LAFC worked out. So, I mean, I think Austin FC set us up really nicely for the future in terms of starting off your own stadium. I think is one of the biggest things out there.
Word has it we have the same architect that did Bank of California Stadium.
Oh, that'll be exciting.
Yeah. I mean, those renders for that stadium look really nice. I'll say it right now. It looks
we're really happy with the design. I mean, especially you're gonna have the heat things to design around. So there's a lot of talk around airflow. We've gotten to provide some input about things we want to see in the supporters section, and that's going to continue. I'm really excited about some of the surprises and bells and whistles I think we're going to have baked into our safe standing section. So it's going to be, there's going to be plenty to talk about over these 2 years too. It's not going to be like, all right, well, we'll see you guys in 2 years. I mean, there's going to be like a flurry of, periodic announcements, whether it's, the groundbreaking to starting to bring in the technical staff in it, whether that's a year or so. There's going to be no shortage of activities and updates and things keeping us occupied until we get to our first kick in, March of 2021.
No doubt. And Josh, last question here. Do you know any of the bells and whistles that are going to be in the stadium that you could tell us? No. One of the criteria too was about LEED certification. Austin, since the building will technically be owned by the city of Austin and leased back to the club, it has to comply with a lot of the city things. And when you build structures here in Austin, there's a lot of attention paid to green amenities. So I don't know. You can see it in the renderings. There's going to be rainwater retention canisters. To try and do there's a hope to kind of have a zero waste, zero emissions, where kind of everything offsets itself. And we'll see how close we get with that. But I know that they're putting on an inordinate amount of time and making sure how the air moves out there. We went out to do an impromptu Facebook Live on New Year's Day out at McAllen. We took lawn chairs and hopped, we kind of went in there and set up in the dirt. The air moves around there. It's I don't know what it is about just the surrounding geography. But the crosswind, and I don't know if it's because of the train tracks are there, or it's warehouses on one side, but then you got taller buildings. Air moves around, and you got to concentrate on that, because even if you're starting games at 8:00 at night, in the middle of August, it's still 90 degrees out. I mean, the sun's not beating on you. I know the canopies are 100% coverage over the seats. And then, there's going to be a band area out front. I mean, none of this stuff is top secret, but I guess if you're not in Austin, you might not be paying as close attention to some of the details that they put into it. And it's, it's got design aesthetics that look really Austinish. You don't look at it and it look the stadium in Minneapolis looks fantastic, but it definitely looks like an alien spaceship just landed in the middle of a Minnesota field, right? In some ways, this really will. I think, you look at it and you kind of go, yeah, I'm in Austin. This is totally what a stadium should look like here. And I think that just shows the attention to detail that the front office is really having to integrate into Austin life. Being next to the rail line is another thing, that how transportation and how people will get here. The fact that the stadium site is about 2 miles north of the actual population center of Austin. So basically, if you take all the population, you graph it out and say, okay, well, where's the middle of all these dots? The stadium itself is only about 2 miles north of that. Downtown is geographically south, but that's not where all the people are. We actually have more people that live up north toward Round Rock and Cedar Park that kind of offset that. So it's in a really good spot. You got a couple of major highways cutting through there. I think it's a lot of the unsexy details, but it shows that there's been a lot of attention paid to what's going to go in the stadium.
And we're pretty excited for some of the things I think us as a supporters group are going to be able to do with the new facility and being able to have some input into some of the ideas we have as supporters of the kind of celebrations and other things we're interested in doing.
Awesome. Some real exciting stuff there in Austin. Now, Josh, tell listeners where we can find you on the Twitter machine, where we can find any other things you'd like to plug.
Yes, everybody's welcome. We're getting inquiries from South America. A guy from Germany wants us to send him a bunch of Austin Anthem swag. But you can find us at austinanthem.org. It's free to sign up for a newsletter if you want to stay tuned to what's going on in the adventures in Austin. We're also on all the socials. You can find us at Austin Anthem. And we're also a fast-growing Reddit community at r/AustinFC. Growing up the charts. I think we just passed Montreal with number of subs. But if you like to rage type in more than 280 characters, you can go to Reddit. Everybody can follow us there. We're super excited to be official in MLS and looking forward to 2021 and all the adventure in between.
Well, absolutely. Now, listeners, follow us on the Twitter machine at Unc Sam Soccer Pod. Give us your response to any of the Austin stuff we talked about at Jake Wintroba, at Armankafai, at Steven Jodren. And come back tomorrow. We talk about soccer streaming paywalls and what it means for the growth of soccer here in the United States. Until next time.